A few short years ago, it felt like we were witnessing a revolution on our plates. The vegan movement had reached an all-time high. Fast food chains were racing each other to launch plant-based burgers. Grocery aisles overflowed with alternative meats and dairy-free everything. On social media, vegan influencers were amassing millions of views, transforming plant-based eating into a cultural phenomenon. There was a genuine sense that something was shifting, not just in what we ate, but in what we believed was possible for our planet, our health, and our future. Veganism wasn't just a diet, it was a statement. It was everywhere. Portland, Los Angeles, New York, these cities became hubs of plant-based innovation. Cafes proudly flew vegan-friendly flags, and even three-star restaurants went fully plant-based. For many, it wasn't just about food, it was about justice, climate, compassion. People weren't just eating differently, they were becoming something. Vegan as an identity, a badge of ethics. I was there too. I made videos about plant-based eating, celebrated the creativity of this new wave, and saw firsthand the sense of community that surrounded it. People were proud to say, "I'm vegan." But if you fast forward to today, the picture looks very different. The pendulum has swung hard the other way. Plant-based sales are shrinking. Vegan restaurants are closing. The buzz is fading. Meanwhile, the carnivore diet, something that didn't even exist in mainstream conversation before, is exploding across social media. What happened? How did a movement that once looked unstoppable lose its momentum so quickly? One reason is that veganism became more than food. It became tribal. It became all or nothing. There was no community around being mostly plant-based. You were in or you were out. And that created friction. Families clashed at dinner tables. Friends drifted apart. The choice of what you ate became a moral battlefield. And as noble as the ethics were, the tone often became combative. If you weren't fully vegan, you were the enemy. Activists compared eating meat to war crimes. Online debates went viral. And while a small percentage thrived in that intensity, many quietly walked away. Not because they stopped caring, but because they couldn't handle the pressure. Then came the commercialization. Every company on Earth scrambled to release its own plant-based product. The shelves were flooded. Quality suffered. Many of these products were expensive, overprocessed, and disappointing. What began as a grassroots movement got swallowed by corporate marketing, and that turned off the very people it was meant to inspire. Even high-end restaurants like 11 Madison Park, once fully vegan, have quietly brought meat back. Why? Because the hype faded and the economics didn't hold. And somewhere along the way, veganism became politicized. It was branded as woke, linked to left-wing activism, gender debates, and identity politics. People stopped seeing it as just a food choice. It became a cultural dividing line, and that made compromise impossible. Instead of simply encouraging people to eat more plants, the message became, eat only plants or you're part of the problem. That alienated millions who might have been open to change. We also have to admit, veganism is hard. It takes time, energy, and money. And in a world where people are exhausted, stressed, and struggling, the luxury of meticulously planning meals just isn't realistic. For many, choosing convenience became an act of survival, not defiance. It's not that people stopped caring about animals or the planet, it's that they're trying to keep their own lives together. And that is something we must understand with compassion, not judgment. So here we are. Veganism isn't gone, but it's quieter, smaller, less about identity, more about practicality. And maybe that's okay. Because maybe the future isn't about perfection. Maybe it's about progress. Maybe it's not about everyone being 100% plant-based, but about everyone eating more plants than they used to. That alone would transform our health systems, our environment, and our food industries. Imagine a world where being plant-forward is normal, where school lunches serve lentils and leafy greens as proudly as they serve burgers, where restaurants offer vibrant plant-based meals that stand on their own merits, not as imitations of meat, where we stop shaming and start celebrating even small steps in the right direction. We don't need another food war. We need a cultural peace treaty, one that says, you don't have to be perfect to make a difference. Every plant-based meal is a win. Every person who eats less meat is part of the solution. This isn't about labels. It's about impact. About building a sustainable food culture that can last, Not just a trend, but a transformation. Veganism as a movement rose fast and fell fast, but its message doesn't have to fade. If we strip away the dogma, the infighting, the tribalism, what remains is something powerful, a belief in a kinder, healthier, more sustainable world. That belief is still worth fighting for, not with anger, but with openness, not with shame, but with inspiration. So let's build the future of food, not as vegans or carnivores or labels of any kind, but as humans, doing our best, one meal at a time. Thank you.